Okay. Now, sorry about that. We've had to record this in two sessions because we just had a quick power outage. So, my apologies for the break in transmission. So, getting back to it, Lisa, why do you think that approach is more effective?
In reference to objective documentation, I think it gives a clearer picture of what happened, and it doesn't contain judgment.
Mm-hmm.
It also helps other staff understand what strategies actually work during that incident, I guess you can say. But I think also, the other thing to think about with clear objective documentation is that, if something happened and, families requested under FOI and things like that, you've then got something that's really clear, unemotional, all of that, and is much more helpful in terms of demonstrating the work that's been undertaken rather than applying an emotion to it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Exactly. So the objective documentation supports continuity of care and behaviours support planning and outlines the support that you've been providing for the customer. So can you give another example, perhaps related to medication or incidents, something along those lines?
Before, I might have written something like customer was angry, refused medication, which doesn't really explain much. So now I might write medication offered at scheduled time, customer verbally refused, stating, I don't want it. So, there's no physical distress observed at the time. Attempted to administer twice more at 15 minutes, without success. So you're giving, so medication withheld as per protocol, and documented with R in medication chart for refused, and, risk man report completed, practice leader notified. So it's very clear. It's much more clearer than what it used to be, and it has no emotion applied.
But it tells the story perfectly.
Yeah.
That clearly shows what happened and that you followed procedure, so good job. So how does understanding the why behind documentation influence how you write now?
Well, I guess, like I just said before, about FOI requests and stuff like that. But, understanding that documentation isn't just for compliance. It's for safety, it's for communication, and protecting the customer and staff, and the organisation. So just knowing that helps me remain sort of factual instead of being emotional. And applying your feelings to something. Yeah.
Excellent. And that awareness is really important. So how do you feel after writing notes this way compared to when you used to write notes?
Look, I'll probably feel more confident, less worried about whether I've written the wrong thing, the wrong thing, we apply even that word to it, but, you just know instead that your notes are clear and much more professional in terms of being reflective around what organisational requirements are in that space. Yeah.
Sure. And that mindset shift, Lisa, is huge. And it usually always leads to better quality documentation long term. So that shows real growth in your practice. So well done.
Awesome.
So let's move into challenges now. Every mentoring journey includes obstacles. What challenges do you feel that you've overcome during this process?
I think, look, the biggest one was probably my fear of making mistakes. I used to be really hard on myself, particularly if I wasn't sure about something. But, sometimes it's the little voices that get in your head still, and you kind of got to go, no, you need the self-talk.
Mm-hmm.
It's about, stop being hard on yourself. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Excellent. So, and you've mentioned just then that one of the biggest challenges for you was the fear of making mistakes. Can you describe what that looked like for you before we started mentoring?
Look, before, if I wasn't completely sure about something, I'd get really anxious about it.
Mm-hmm.
So, with that level of anxiety, I guess I'd worry that I might do the wrong thing or miss something important. And then, of course, I'd end up being really hard on myself afterwards.
Okay. Can you give me a specific example?
So, for example, during a behaviour incident, I'd kind of replay everything in my head after the shift. So when you're supposed to clock off, the head is still going.
Right.
So, and wondering if I said the right thing or followed the behaviour support plan exactly, even if the situation resolved, you'd still feel like you might have failed somehow.
Okay. So that's
Yeah.
self-doubt.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and that kind of self-criticism can be really exhausting.
Absolutely.
So, how did that fear affect your work in the moment?
But sometimes it makes you hesitate, so instead of acting confidently, you'd second guess yourself or overcheck things because you felt really worried about making a mistake. And you were so kind of like, I don't want to make a mistake. So, yeah.
And how has that changed now, Lisa?
Probably I focus more now on listening, like listening to the customer. And really trying to hear them, what they're saying, follow the plan, stay calm, and ask for support if I'm not sure.
Yep. Awesome.
So, for example, if the customer refuses medication and I'm uncertain about the next step, I don't panic. I just check the protocol, or I speak to a senior staff member instead of blaming myself. So, yeah.
Excellent. And that's a really healthy shift. So, just to keep you doing the work, can you give me another example, perhaps related to documentation?
Before, I used to get really worried about writing notes, and you kind of want to write them perfectly because when you're a perfectionist, you want to do that. But when you're like that, you then end up delaying doing them, and that's not good. So now, if I'm unsure, I just write the facts I observed and then ask for feedback rather than assuming I've done something wrong. So, having a learning mindset has probably been the shift for me.
Yeah, and that's what you've got now, Lisa, which is great. So that shows a big change in mindset from fear to learning. So what helped make I'll start again. What helped you make that shift?
Sorry for that distraction because it was just my daughter messaging me. I just need to
Okay,
respond
family
to her.
first.
Absolutely. She's just on her way.
Get her to come into the office.
Yeah. So we got her on her way.
Okay, good idea. So what helped you make that shift?
Yeah, so that shift from fear to learning, I guess, realising, I suppose asking questions and reflecting doesn't mean I'm incompetent. Because I think I don't like it when people question my competency, so I get a little bit sensitive to that. So it means now I'm being professional and more responsible and
Sure,
yeah.
exactly. So mistakes or uncertainty aren't failures. They're opportunities to learn and improve, especially in complex supported environments like supported independent living.
Yeah, I feel much more confident now. I still, care about doing things right, but I don't let, that fear grab you, stop you from acting or learning. So, yeah.
Yep, and that balance is another strong indicator of your professional growth and is very common in caring roles. So, what helped you work through that fear?
Probably taking things through help, like
Or talking?
like talking through things,
Mhm.
that really helped. Knowing that it was okay to ask questions and reflect instead of having all the answers straight away, I guess. Yeah.
Cool. And that psychological safety is a big part of effective mentoring. So, were there any practical changes you worked through?
Um, yeah. Documentation under pressure.
Yeah.
Learning to write short notes first and then finish them later. That really helped. So, for example, if you're in an emergency situation and your adrenaline's pumping and you're trying to phone 000 and keep customers safe
Mm-hmm.
and jotting down the important notes briefly, so it really supports that kind of space. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And that strategy often makes a big difference. So, how did you feel the first time you tried that approach?
Look, to be honest, it felt a bit strange at first.
Mm-hmm.
But then I realised it made things a lot easier and less stressful. So, yeah,
Yeah.
which was
Excellent.
really encouraging.
It is. And it's a great example of applying learning in real time, Lisa. So, what other challenges felt significant during the mentoring period?
A big one of mine, speaking up when it comes to team discussions.
Mm-hmm.
That was another one for me. I think because so many things go through your head, and when you don't always feel confident sharing your thoughts because you've got so much going on. Like I've been told in the past, when you say things in meetings, it's like, what?
Mm-hmm.
And I realise that's down to the way my brain processes information. So, yeah, I didn't always feel confident in that space. Yeah.
That's great. And that's another sign of growing professional confidence, Lisa. So good job. Now let's talk about support and guidance. Looking back, what aspects of the mentoring process were most useful for you?
Reflective questions helped a lot. They made me think more deeply about stuff instead of just reacting.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And that reflective thinking is something you can carry forward beyond mentoring. What else was helpful?
Probably the practical examples, talking through real life situations made it easier to understand, how to apply those strategies in the workplace, like just, the practical stuff. Yeah.
Excellent. That connection between theory and practice is crucial in workplace learning. Did you find find value in feedback from others during this time?
Yeah, I mean, peer feedback really helped me. It helped me to see that I was actually doing better than I thought. Because I think, at the end of the day, we all think we're actually doing a lot worse than what we're doing.
Absolutely.
So we blow it out of proportion.
Absolutely. That's very often the case. So external perspectives can really balance self-criticism, Lisa. So I'd like to ask you a few reflective questions now. There's no right or wrong answer. Just take your time. What achievement are you most proud of from this mentoring period?
I think I'm most proud of, my increased confidence. I trust myself more now and I feel more capable in my role.
Excellent. And that confidence has been extremely noticeable. So where do you still feel you could use more assistance or guidance?
Probably in those more sort of complex situations where there are, like multiple customers and they all need support at the same time. Like, I think those are still feel somewhat scary.
Sure.
Yeah.
And that's very honest and realistic reflection, and experience will also help towards that.
Mm.
So, what do you think will help you continue building confidence in those situations?
I think experience
Yeah, I
over
just
time.
gave you an answer there.
Yeah. Reflection, and obviously asking for help when I need it. Yeah.
Sure, and that's exactly the right approach. So let's shift our focus to the future, because you've obviously got reflection technique under wraps. So now that our formal mentoring is ending, what professional development goals do you want to set for yourself, Lisa?
I think I'd like to keep building my, you know, my behaviour support skills, and eventually support newer staff. So, and maybe also become a customer's key support worker. So, you know, like the sky's the limit. You don't know, and you don't know. Your answer tomorrow could be different to today. So, yeah.
Absolutely. That aligns really well with the leadership development. So, what steps could you take to work towards that goal?
Probably continuing peer mentoring, shadowing a team like a team leader, and probably keeping up reflective journaling as well.
Excellent. Those are really strong, realistic strategies. So, how confident do you feel about maintaining those practices?
I feel pretty confident. They do feel manageable and not so overwhelming. So, yeah.
Okay, cool. So, how will you make sure you apply what you've learned consistently at work?
Probably by reflecting regularly, like asking for feedback, being intentional about communication and documentation. Yeah.
Yep, cool. And consistency is what turns learning into habit, as we said earlier.
Yeah.
So, how do you think this will impact your long term development?
I think it will help me grow more steadily instead of actually feeling stuck, where I am, sort of thing. Yeah.
Absolutely. And that steady growth mindset is exactly what we're aiming for. So, before we finish, I want to acknowledge the effort that you've put into this mentoring process. You've been really open, reflective, honest, and committed all the way through.
Yeah. Thanks for that. I really valued having the space to talk this stuff through. Yeah.
Excellent. So, although this is the end of our formal mentoring sessions, support doesn't stop here. We can help. We can keep informal check-ins. If you ever need guidance or reflection, all you need to do is reach out to me, Lisa.
Oh, thank you. I'd really appreciate that. And it does make that transition easier too.
Yeah.
When you start stuff, and yeah.
Sure. But you really should be proud of your progress. You've built confidence, skills, and a reflective approach that will support you well into the future, Lisa.
Thank you. I feel much more capable now than when we started.
That's exactly the outcome we were aiming for. Cool. Well done, Lisa.
Thank you.
Great work.